Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I tell you what, the only thing I'm surprised about this morning is that Solskjaer's still in a job. What's going on at that football club? We're going to be talking about it straight off the bat with Paul INCE. How are you doing this morning, Paul?
I've been better, to say the least. After watching that tripe yesterday afternoon, we spoke last week and saying how it's a game that United can bounce back. How it's the biggest game of the season for United, and also how it's a game that, listen, they could get beat, but there's always a chance that they could win the game. They can put on a show for United fans, and they went completely the other way. And I put on my Twitter page, it was men against boys. It was actually men against babies. That's how embarrassing it was. And listen, at the end of the day, I'm surprised. I mean, listen, when you've got fans walking out at Old Trafford at half-time, there's a serious problem at the club. These Man United fans are stuck with this team all season, all season. And when you've got United fans walking out at half-time, then there's a serious problem. That can't be right, because they're as faithful as they come. And that says to me that enough's enough for these fans. They've stuck by Ollie, they've stuck by the players, they've tried to support the players, but they can't tolerate that type of performance after 45 minutes. And if they're walking out, I was shocked. I was shocked at that. I was shocked at the performance. I was even shocked at Man United fans clapping Ollie as he's walking down a tunnel after getting beat 5-0.
You know what? It's unbelievable. I think the most important thing is that fans just accept that everyone's got a right to opinion and you can't dictate. Like the club were trying to dictate, like Ollie was trying to dictate, like McTominay was trying to dictate before this game. They were trying to divide and basically say, if you sing for the team, you're a better fan than the people who criticise. And the reality is, look what's happened. They've mugged themselves off as a club, as a manager, as a player, because the reality is the criticism was spot on. And I look this morning and I think, look, we'll talk about Ollie and the tactics, but I also look at the bigger picture, Paul. I've been saying for a couple of weeks, the Glazers here are a massive problem. Abramovich would have sacked him last week at Chelsea. Watford would, City would. We wake up this morning, the Glazers are trying to buy another club to fuck up in Dubai for the IPL, the Indian Premier League cricket. That's what they're busy doing. Ed Woodward is the worst CEO United have ever had. And we're giving him a farewell tour like the Rolling Stones. The only thing rolling downhill with him is shit. He's absolutely terrible. And he's still at this football club, having employed 4 different managers now. He's still here. I totally think that the Solskjaer's got to go. But I also think that the way the club have acted, it's indecisive, it's silence. To me, I don't... Do you think they're going to sack him? Because I don't think they are.
No, they're not going to sack him. And I must say, I'm not one of those who say that any manager should be sacked. And I'll tell you that right now.
He should be, surely. You don't disagree. I'm saying sack him. I love him, but sack him, I say.
No, listen, I've been sacked a couple of times as a manager and it's not a nice feeling. So I'm not going to come and say that he should be sacked. But what I'm saying is that the Glazers don't give a monkey really about Man United's performances. They don't give a fuck about Man United. Where they're on the table. As you said, they're more interested about money. And Ed Woodward, we always said about Ed Woodward, never been a football man. We said 2 years ago, 3 years ago, get a director of football and get someone who knows about the club. Martin Edwards was a football man. These people make United through and through. The Glazers and Edward Woodward, they're not making United through and through. This is just like a gravy train for them to see how much money they can take out the club. And whether they win 4-0, get beat 5-0, they don't give a monkeys. And this is why Ollie and his staff are still sitting there feeling like there's not that much pressure. Listen, there's going to be a lot of pressure today because of the result yesterday. But Ollie will still be sitting there today thinking, my job's safe. So will his staff. And I think there's no fear factor in that. When you know you're safe because everyone loves you or the Glazers don't give a monkeys about you, you're fine. But as I said before, when you got fans walking out at half time, then that's got to be a wake up call for Glazers, for Woodward. It's got to be something that has to change. And people say, yeah, well, Ollie's got to change. Ollie's got to lose his job. I said 3 weeks ago, Ollie's got to bring someone in who knows how to play football, has a blueprint and a style, not his mates. Ollie said yesterday after the game about the tactics, and he said, well, who did those? Whose decision was that? He said, it was my decision. he said the staff are very good. The coaching staff are brilliant. Well, if the coaching staff are brilliant, I'm not seeing what they're coaching on the pitch, because I don't know what they're coaching during the week, because the coaching staff ain't brilliant. As a manager, and I was a manager, I would look at game after game after game, and then I'd say to my coaching staff, right, on Saturday, this is how I want the team to play. And I want you guys, what you get paid for, to go out and coach this team to play that way. So if that's the case, and Ollie was playing, high pressure tactics like he did on Sunday, and it was completely all over the shop, that says to me that his coaching staff ain't good enough to implement what they've been doing during the week. And that's exactly what we saw. And I just looked at them. They look, the more I look at them as a whole, the more I think, I find it hard to understand how they're managing and coaching the biggest club in the world. I do. I find it hard and hard and hard. I'm trying to find reasons behind it, and I can't, because you can't keep protecting, what we're seeing. The fans that can't keep protecting, some fans, what they're seeing. Yesterday was something that we knew was coming, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. I get that, but we were saying it 4 or 5 weeks ago. The performances weren't great. They were getting away with it. Southampton and Wolves, and then all of a sudden we said it. You said it, Marky. You play a decent side, and we'll see where United is at. And
it reminds me of like when I play FIFA against my nephew. I play a bit of FIFA, so I'm quite good, but he's like teen, so he thinks he can beat me. And I'll just pick the team before we play. I'm not bothered about tactics. I'll just go, right, United, I'll beat you no matter what. He's messing around for 5 minutes, and he's moving his wingers up to play a 4-2-4, and he's just going to try and bypass my passing and everything like that. And I'm like, I'll batter him. I'm going to absolutely batter him, because he's left nothing in the midfield. It's like what I watched the game yesterday, and I refused a couple of weeks ago when people were saying he's trying to play a 4-2-4. I said, he's not trying to play a 4-2-4. You don't play a 4-2-4 at this level. I watched it yesterday. Greenwood and Rashford are playing centre forward on the wide. Bruno's virtually playing centre forward with Ronaldo. You've got the biggest pair of prats our midfield's ever seen. They wouldn't even get in a Newcastle midfield, McTominay and Fred. And Luke Shaw's right. He had a terrible game yesterday, but he basically said after the game, people are getting it as too much. There's runners all over the place. And he's right. Like, people are having a pop at Maguire and Shaw, and I thought they were bad. But Trent Alexander-Arnold puts a cross in, no one's anywhere near him. He's a right back. Keita involved in 3 goals. He's a midfielder. That's Fred or McTominay's problem. That's not Maguire or Luke Shaw. It's tactically inept. And we were just talking before we went live, Paul. The thing for me is, can you see, I mean, I've heard Gary Neville say, it'll be given till the end of the season, mates rates. I've heard Brian Robson say, changing the manager just causes upheaval. They're obviously doing it to protect Ollie. I get that. I respect that. But I can't see this morning any reason why any decently run football club would think this is worth sticking with. There is, I mean, he's got Pogba on the bench, Sancho on the bench. He doesn't use Van der Beek. His tactics are terrible. Ronaldo looks like... I can't find a positive, and that's the scary thing. I don't know about you.
No, listen, there's not a positive. There's not. And just going back to, if you analyse the second and third goal, and we saw this last week against Atlanta, when we said on the Thursday, they're getting too easy down the sides, because Rashford won't come back or Green won't come back. And the way he played yesterday, Ollie, if you look at the second goal and the third goal, as much as you're right, you blame Maguire and Fred and McTominay. And this is when I talk about analysing a game and seeing things. Gary Neville's blaming those players. Look at Fernandes. He's in that position both times. All right. So you United fans, look at Fernandes. He is next to Arnold. He just lets him run off him. He puts the ball across the box. He's next to Keita. He just lets him run off him. If they score a goal. So those 2 goals can be prevented if Fernandes is back in shape. But he's not. And the player's only 5 yards in front of him. All he's got to do is run back at pace, and he's back in shape. This is lack of desire, lack of effort, lack of will to get in a position to stop a cross or stop a man. And that's what
it's every player, Paul. It's all of them.
Every player, but more so down the sides. More so down the sides. That's where all the joys come from. That's where it came from against Atalanta, Everton, Villa. So if you didn't learn against Atalanta, surely when Liverpool play with 2 flying fullbacks, surely tactically as a manager, I'll be thinking, right, first thing we've got to do is stop the fullbacks from bombing forward, take them back the other way. Time and time again, Robertson, Arnold, at will. Did anybody address it? Did anybody say anything? Did anybody try to change it? No, they didn't. They just let it happen. And then that 4-0, and he said, oh, well, I want reason why I changed it because I bought Pogba for damage limitations. Why are you bringing Pogba at 4-0 for damage limitation? Pogba's not a midfield player. Pogba's not a centre half. If you're going to do anything, bring Donny on. Bring someone who can sit in there, bring a Matic on. Not say, well, I bought Pogba.
You could even bring a disciplined right winger on who will track back and actually make something happen that you spent 74 million quid on. Exactly.
I mean, and then at the end he says, well, no, we can't give up now. We're too close.
To what?
That's what I'm saying. And
relegation, I reckon.
That was the hardest thing for me when Ollie said, oh, well, we can't give up now. We're too close. I mean, who exactly, where are you too close to? Because you ain't too close to Liverpool, City or Chelsea or even Arsenal at this moment of time. You're actually nowhere near it. This is his third season. So that is, who's he trying to kid? Who's he trying to kid? Is he trying to kid us or is he trying to kid the fans? Because to say that I can't give up because we're too close. I don't see a team that's too close. I see a team that lacks desire, lacks intensity. I see a team that's actually playing to get the manager sacked.
That's what I ask you about that. Yeah, I mean, look, go on.
I see a team that wants the manager to be sacked. I really, really do. And when that happens, then there's only one attempt that's going to happen. Whether that's going to be down the line or what's at the end of the season, we don't know. Gary Neville swear blind it's going to be at the end of the season.
He's probably bloody telling them to do that. He's probably the bloody silent CEO now, which terrifies me because, to be honest with you, Gary Neville will never sack anybody. Someone could come down and bloody knock his house down and he'll say, I'll give you a tip for that. He just doesn't want to sack anyone off.
No, and you're right. And Gary Neville's not the voice of football. That's for sure. Okay? And I understand where Gary's coming from. And you asked me this question before. If it was Giggsy, would I be doing exactly the same thing? And I think it'd be hard for me to sit here and say, well, listen, I don't think Giggsy should be sacked, but the way things are going, he will get sacked. That's what I would say. I wouldn't say I will give him to the end of the season, X, Y, and Z. But just going back to...
Yeah, but on that, Paul, I mean, look, maybe one day, maybe never, but we know each other quite well now. If you were manager of United and I didn't have you on because you were doing manager of United and that was yesterday, I wouldn't be scared. I wouldn't like it, but I'd go, look, I know Paul. I know he'll be absolutely gutted and I know he'll be fighting every part of him will be trying to turn this around because he wants to be successful. But honestly, I think it's best for him and best for the club if they part ways. You can do it in a way that's not get him out of our club. Yeah. And it's so obvious to me. I mean, I actually thought when he walked off, I don't know whether you saw it when he was walking down a tunnel.
Yeah, I did.
I felt so bad for him because he's a human being and he's done good things in the United shirt. But you know what? When you left in 95, fantastic midfielder for us. If Sir Alex had rung me up when I was, mid-90s, I don't know, teenager, early 20s and said, I want you in the midfield, I'd have gone, yeah. And at the start of the season, everyone would have gone, he's fucking shit. He's terrible. And I would have gone, yeah, but I love United, me. I really want to do well. And it's like, you're not, just because you want to do something doesn't mean you're good at it. And I think with Ollie now, it's just noise. We all know he wants to be the best Man United manager there's ever been, but so does a million other people. For me, it's just so obvious he ain't good enough. And I don't feel guilty, and I'm not scared to say he should be sacked because ultimately, Man United transpires above every fan, every ex-player, every current player, every manager. Manchester United goes back decades, over 100 years. And it will go on forever. And it's like the standards at this football club, for me, Paul, I'm looking at the Liverpool fans and the fan channels, and they're all laughing. They're sat there with a bloody cup of tea and a cake for 40 minutes, laughing at us. I mean, that's the thing. It wasn't even close. It was over at half time. They're laughing their heads off at us. And fans are walking out the ground, like you say, and we're an embarrassment, and the football's terrible, and it's a mess. We'll talk about some of the players in a moment. And it's like, how low do you want to go? How low do you want to take this? It's like, it's not even, for me, it's not even a thought. He has to be sacked because if you don't sack him, you're crapping all over the history of what your team did, what Sir Bobby's team did, the Busby Babes, every Premier League winning side. That's the standards. And the minute you let yesterday happen and go keep the manager, you're crapping all over the standards of this football club for me.
No, listen, I can't disagree, and I find it hard to disagree. And you're right. I think when you looked at the game yesterday, the hardest part for me was two images. One of Sir Alex sitting there fuming, and they went pan straight over to Kenny Dalglish, who was sitting there laughing. That says
horrible.
Right, horrible. When I'm thinking, you know, we are becoming a laughing stock.
Well, the Liverpool fans, fair play. Look, I can't stand them because the rivalry is important. But what United fans would love to be, I suppose that's a question in itself. But when the Liverpool fans are singing "Ollie's at the wheel," that's a big hint. That's a big hint of what the perception is. I've got Liverpool fans messaging me this morning saying, "Don't sack Ollie, keep him forever." And it's like, you learn a lot from rivals. But I think Liverpool are run like a football club, and I think if they'd been humiliated like that at Anfield, there would be, you know, Hodgson, whatever. They'd be gone. They'd be absolutely gone. But
listen. No manager. You know, you look at what they did with David Moyes. You know, after 12 months. You know what I mean? They look what you did with Van Gaal. You know, sacked him after he won the FA Cup. You know, Mourinho. You know, 2 years on, and you think these are world-class managers. And I said this at the start when Ollie took over, and I'm not fucking sitting there going, "Yeah, I was right. I told you so." But I said at the start of this, when they employed Ollie, and I said, listen, I could have done what he could have done, or Mark Hughes, or Steve Bruce, or Roy Keane, because what the environment and the culture coming at Old Trafford at the time under Mourinho was so vile, and players were unhappy, and the press was coming out, and you know, we know at Manchester United, anything that goes stays at home, but it was coming out into the papers, and a lot of that was to do with Mourinho putting demands on these players. I'm not putting up with this. I'm not putting up with that. This is how we're going to do it. If you don't like it, and the same as Van Gaal. I know Van Gaal was, you know, that's what he's like. He's a teacher person. We do it this way. We do it that way, and they don't like it, players. You know, but Conte does the same. Klopp does the same. This is how we do it. If you don't like it, away you go. Now all of a sudden they've gone from that hard taskmaster. Well, I can't do. I'm not doing what Mourinho says or Van Gaal. I'm throwing the tool. I want to leave. To exactly giving Ollie the job. Whose hands around the shoulder, which I don't mind, you know, to make it like an easy holiday camp.
But I also think, Paul, I don't know what you think about that. I also think Ollie's a puppet, because I think when the Super League happens and you get fans on Carrington and everything like that, and he's talking to them and he's saying the Glazers are good guys when they're trying to take us out the European Cup, and you know, he always backs the Glazers. I think not only is the players like him, but the owners love him as well. And it's like last week in his press conference, he'd said something about Rashford needs to focus on his football. His very next press conference, he says, "Before I take any questions," basically, and I know he didn't apologise in so many words, but it basically was, "I didn't mean to offend Marcus. You know, he's a great footballer. I didn't mean to." And I'm like, that's the club saying, "Don't upset Rashford. Go and publicly apologise." And it's like, would Sir Alex do that? Would Mourinho do that?
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. But then again, would they have made that first comment in the first place?
Well, exactly, yeah. It was a bad comment, but he's undermining himself because he's always been. It's like a puppet on a string.
And this is going back to what I was saying. And this is what I was saying. Anyone who knows Manchester United Football Club, who's been there for a period of time, as it's like a Bruce or a Hughes, you know, could have come in and turned that around. And I said that at the start of Ollie's reign. They had 8-9 fixtures of games they should win easily. You know, put a bit of joy into training, make the players happy, and we saw the results on that. All right, and I got absolutely slaughtered for that by some United fans. Fucking did. All right, and I'm telling you now, and the reason why I said that is because you can't have a manager who took Cardiff down, then goes to Mould, and then expect to come into the biggest club in the world and produce a team that's going to challenge the best teams in the world. With the staff that he's got an under 23 coach coming from the academy. You know, he's got Michael Carrick, no coaching experience. Mickey Phelan, I don't know what he does. That's his team. This is his coaching staff. So you analyse that against the players world-class players you've got on the team, and we keep mentioning tactics and not getting the best out of the players. Look at that staff. This is the staff that Ollie says is yesterday, oh, they're very good, they're brilliant. Load of bollocks, because they're conceding goals for fun. Are they doing defensive work? Do they know where the players need to be when the ball's in a certain position? What is that? I'd actually like to go to Old Trafford, to the Carrington, and watch a week of what they do in training. I'd love to see it, because I'm not convinced.
It's scary to think what they're doing, isn't it?
I don't know whether they're just playing five-a-sides and they're just, a bit of, volleyball and all that rubbish, you know what I mean? Head tennis. I don't know what they're doing, but I'd like to go. I'd like Ollie to invite me in for a week and say, Paul, this is what we're doing and this is how we do it, because I'm not seeing any stuff on the Saturday, on the weekend, that says to me that we work at this, we work at that. Klopp, I'll tell you how great Klopp is, right? And this is how great. Liverpool were fantastic. Let's get this, just to get this right. That was a team that Klopp's had for 4 years. It's only 1 year behind Ollie. Okay?
No Fabinho, no Mane as well.
Klopp said before the game, he said, well, I've been watching Man United, and the reason why I'm playing Jota is because I've seen something in Manchester United where we can exploit. That's what he said. And Mane is one of the best players in the world. And he left Mane out because he'd seen something in United that he could exploit as a weakness. And lo and behold, what happened?
Well, he also dropped Matip, who I think is a fantastic centre-back, for Konate, because Konate's quick, because he knows we're going to hit the long ball. So he's like, I've got Konate there now.
Exactly. And so that's management, that's tactical management, that's tactical genius. That's doing a world-class manager. Whereas United, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. Yes, they want to push from the front. Yeah, they want to get in their faces. But the pressing was like nearly pressing. Fernandes, I've always been told, coach, that when you press either on a bad ball or a bad pass from the opposition, or the ball goes into the corner. That's when you all can go in there. Fernandes is running to the goalkeeper. He's not even quick, Fernandes. So why he's running to the goalkeeper when he's never going to get it? You know what I mean? Wan-Bissaka looks like, at the moment, like a rabbit in headlights. He didn't put, I think, put one cross into the box. It just looks like he's so lost his confidence. The whole back four, apart from David Gea, but they're all over the place.
There's no shape, though, is there? There's no protection. And also, look, you've been a captain yourself. Maguire's getting a lot of stick here, but ultimately, he is the captain of that team. There was down times in the first half when Keita went down injured after the Fred thing, and he's just stood there with his head down. And I was like, Brian Robson, Roy Keane, Paul Ince, Eric Cantona, Rooney, recently Vidic. That's a time to pull the players in while there's a Liverpool player injured and give them a bloody rollicking. And it's just like, there's no leadership, there's no confidence, there's no organisation. And also, going back to Ollie, I don't know whether you've noticed this, because I like to read people, and, you can't always read people just from the camera, but whenever anything goes wrong, he sits down to Carrick, they look at the laptop, and it's like this. Klopp's on the touchline. When things are going wrong, he's just shouting at his players, because he knows Pep, the same, Tuchel, the same. He has, as a manager, you can read him as he's got no authority and he's got no idea. And when things go wrong, he has to go and sit and surround himself with these people who are also clearly not good enough. And it's like, what do we do? What do we do? Klopp doesn't go and sit back and have a look at a fucking laptop, see what Football Manager says. He's there, because he knows what he wants, and he's got the confidence to shout at his players. And I just think, as I said, it just goes back to how they can stick with this, because do you think if, like, let's get your thoughts. For me, Zidane's available. It's a risk, but what's not a risk? You bring Zidane in, you bring him in now. It's absolutely obvious that Solskjaer's never going to be the man. But if you bring a manager in now, there's enough games left that you can get that team in top four. You've got Champions League next year. You're still in the Champions League, and the squad doesn't need a lot of work. If you're a manager, some jobs you go into and you're like, oh, that's a fucking mess. I wouldn't go near that at the moment. But that squad, and you've got a lot of players that are good that aren't being used. So you go in and you go, Donny, I want you. Sancho, I want you. Pogba, I want you. So straight away, you've got 3 top-class players that are not happy, that are going to play for you and are going to make you better.
I think when you look at the squad, and I think we kind of get a little bit overexcited, and the reason why I say that, we said, yeah, we got Ronaldo. We haven't got Ronaldo 12 years ago.
No.
We've got Ronaldo now who doesn't really want to move, who won't run back, who has an effect on the team. It was funny, I don't know if Bonucci, who plays for Juventus, he made a comment last week or a couple of days ago saying, we've now got our spirit back at Juventus, because when Ronaldo was there, it was all about Ronaldo. Now Ronaldo's gone, we've now got our spirit. It's all about the team. And it was a great quote. And this is what I looked at that and I thought, maybe that's the case with United. Maybe United's all about Ronaldo, all right? But this is not the Ronaldo of old. Cavani, as I said before, wrong side of 30. Varane, wrong side of 30. So I watched Henderson yesterday run that midfield. He cost £8 million from Sunderland. 10 million pounds, whatever it may be, 20 million pounds, whatever it may be. We're talking Donny van Beek, 40 million. We're talking Fred, 38 million. And he's running that midfield. So if you bring in a new manager, don't think he's got a lot of world-class players at his disposal, because these kind of world-class players aren't world-class players. I mean, world-class players that produce it week in and month in. Ronaldo's world-class, but he's coming to the end of his career. Let's be honest. Facts are facts. Pogba ain't going to sign. If they've offered Pogba 400 grand allegedly, and then they don't pay him in one of the biggest games in the world, what does that say to you? What does that say to you about Paul Pogba? He'll be gone. Donny's
gone, yeah, 100%. In fact, if they want to keep Pogba, you better change your manager, because there's no way he's staying under Ollie.
Exactly, he's gone. He's gone. So, but I still think we got enough in that squad to, as you rightly said, to challenge for the top four. Now, if United were to get knocked out of the Champions League, which they won't do in the group stages, I think they go through. But after it gets to the last 16, it's knockout football, and all of a sudden they're 10 points off the top four because the performances keep continuing. Then there's not going to be no Champions League football next year. The best managers want Champions League football. And if they're not in Champions League football, they're not going to attract the best players. Listen, they attract players because they're Manchester United and they play over the offshore players, as we've seen in the past. But
this is why, for me, it's on the board, though, Paul, because it's very rare in football that you're mid-October and you can sack a manager 100% knowing you're making the right decision. Because normally this early in the season, you've got to go give him a bit of time. But because he's been in this position so many times over 3 years, he even said last week, I've been in this position loads of times, and he normally bounced back. He was in this position before the international break. He's come back. He's fluked to win against Atalanta, and he's been stuffed by Leicester and Liverpool. Stuffed, not beaten. Absolutely stuffed. He belongs in the Natural History Museum as a bloody relic. He's been stuffed. And the reality is he should be sacked. But if you do sack him now, a new manager comes in with a squad, gets a midfielder. We know we need a midfielder, but he comes in with a squad that we'll lose to Man City. We might lose to Chelsea, but there'll be a bounce enough to beat the teams like Spurs and Watford and Palace, which I don't think Ollie's capable of at the moment. I just think it's absolutely nailed on that if you bring a new manager in with those squad, who's 4-0 down to Liverpool at home? Norwich, maybe. I think any team that's organised is not 4-0 down to Liverpool at half time, unless they're absolutely scintillating, which I don't actually think Liverpool were. I thought they were good. I thought they were in third gear.
Listen, it's not just 4-0 down, it's 4-0 down at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
4-0 down at Old Trafford. That's the embarrassing thing. And listen, there will be fans who will keep protecting Ollie. I'm not sitting there protecting Ollie. I'm not Gary Neville. I'm not that type of person. But what I'm saying, I can't see any reason why the board was sacking that. And that's hard for me to. I don't get that. I can't sit in there.
They're incompetent.
I don't think the board will sack Ollie Solskjaer. Ollie, I don't think they will. I honestly don't think they will. And I'm not saying they should, but I don't think they will. Now,
why do you think they won't do it?
Well, you know what? Unless there's what you kind of find in these situations, and what you'll see now, you'll see agents on the phone to Edward Woodward and saying, "Listen, Conte wants to come, or Zizi wants to come." These little conversations now will be going around as we sit here now talking, and maybe they say, "Well, listen, we're not ready to come to the next season, or we're ready to come now." These talks will all be going on behind the manager's back. I remember when I was at Blackburn managing in the Premier League, and we lost a couple of games. Next minute, I had people saying, "Oh, we have people talking to Sam Allardyce, people talking to so-and-so manager behind your back." And lo and behold, once Sam was ready to come in, he came in, and I'd lost my job. Yeah. So I know I know how it works. So I believe that's what's going on now. I believe agents now ringing whoever they have to ring at Old Trafford, whether it's Edward Woodward, and say, "Listen, Zizi's ready," or Conte, whoever it may be, whoever manager wants to come in. And if they get the green light, then it will happen. But whether that happens now or at the end of next season, and in this season, I don't know. And the thing is, who knows what's going to happen at the end of the season? If Ollie was to stay, and all of a sudden we find ourselves, in the top four, we won the Champions League, then you've got to keep Ollie, But we've seen enough in the last 2-3 years, the inconsistency of the performances, and we keep talking about bounce back. Liverpool don't have to bounce back, not to make you see, because they just keep rolling on and rolling on. Chelsea keep rolling on and rolling on. And he's talked about the model of Chelsea, winning. They win the Champions League, they sack their manager, Chelsea, because they want to keep on winning and winning. What is our model? Don't tell us about building, because you can't build with 36-year-old players and 34-year-old players. What are we trying to do? And this is as a club. What is our model? What does Man United stand for? I don't know it anymore. I don't know what we stand for, but I know what the moment this morning, there's going to be a lot of angry fans, a lot of angry people, because today we are a laughing stock.
I think that's the problem, Paul, because I think that for me, it's a big thing for anybody to say Ollie out, unless you're just a flippant fan and you go, whatever. For me, I've said it, and if we beat Spurs 4-0 next week and we beat Man City, I've still got to say Ollie out, because I can't make a big decision like that and go, oh, I'm back on board now. And it's a big, when people say, well, why haven't you said it? Why haven't you said it? Because I know when I say it, for me, it's a big thing to say. But I agree with Paul. I don't think they'll get rid of him, because, there's a story coming out this morning that Conte would be interested in the job, but he wouldn't be interested in having marketable players bought for him and being told what to do. Well, hello and welcome to the world of Manchester United. This is why Klopp didn't want it. He described it as a Disneyland, because United won't want to get rid of Ollie because they've got this puppet, and I know it sounds horrible, on a string that will do whatever they want him to do. If you bring a Zidane or a Conte, they walk in and go, who are you, Ed Woodward? Banker with a W. You know nothing about football. You're a businessman. You ain't telling me who to buy, and you're not telling me how to run this football club. United, Glazers, they don't want that. That's why they've got all their mates on the board, because they want to keep it. Don't tell them how crap we are. Don't let anybody know. It's all got to be in-house, which is why Ollie's great. DNA, United way, puppet. This is why, that's for me why they won't make a change, Paul, because you bring a proper manager in, or somebody who's a bit vocal, like Mourinho was, and he'll expose it.
So basically, what was basically saying is they don't give a fuck about United fans. They don't give all this crap about, why are they shelling out money, millions and millions, on players, all right?
To sell shirts.
To sell shirts. Because I don't get it. They've been kind of after Sancho for 3 years, and they've spent £70 million. I don't care if you're millionaires, billionaires. If you're spending £70 million on a player to go into your football club to play, you want that team. You want the player to play first and foremost to start, and two, you hope that's an improvement on the team that you've got. That's going to make you closer to the top 3 or 4 boys to make the fans happy, because the fans are football. The fans are the ones who pay tickets every week to go into that stadium and fill it out. All right. So this is what I'm saying. So if you're spending that money on those players, and you're not performing because, i.e., there's an issue with the manager, the staff, Edward Woodward, it's just like throwing money down the drain to me. It's just like throwing money down the drain. Because Sancho looks like he's disillusioned. He's thinking, he's like Donny van der Beek. He's like, what have I done? This dream of mine of coming to the Man United has turned into a nightmare. Same with Donny. And I always believe, if someone had said to me, if I was playing for Arsenal, for example, and Man United offered me, wants to buy me for £50 million, for example, if you said to me now, would I go? I'd say no. I wouldn't go. Because one, players, I always used to go to clubs because of the manager and how he was. If it was Pep, or I'd fly there, tomorrow. But I'd look at that team, and I'd look at that staff and the way they want to play and how things are, and I'd say, I'm not sure that's a good move for me at this moment of time.
Well, Van der Beek's career has been, he's lost 2 years, he'll never get back. You can tell us, as a footballer, you might get 10 good years. You're in a great position, you've worked really hard to get there, you're talented, Donny van der Beek's lost 2 years of his career under this coach. Whether you rate him or not, it's the worst decision he's made. He might be on a good wage. He's lost 2 years of his career. Jadon Sancho, one of the best wingers in Europe, up and coming, signs for 74 million. Grealish goes to Man City for 100 million. Everyone's like, who's going to be better? Grealish goes straight into the team and he's straight away part of it. Sancho sat there, not even a used sub when you're 4-0 down at half time. And for what? I mean, it's just like, I think football is about the fans. I don't understand this morning, Paul, how there's United fans waking up and going, yeah, it's disappointing, but you've just got to hope the manager can sort it out. Give us more. What do you see other than hope? And when Gary Neville comes out with, United have employed world-class managers before. What's the change going to make? Mourinho and Van Gaal are two people like me and you. It's like you can't not go and try Zidane and Conte because Mourinho and Van Gaal didn't work and stick with what we've got. It's like the people who are backing him. I respect it. It's your opinion. That's what it should all be about. But sitting there and coming out with stuff like that, you may as well get a T-shirt that says Glazers in on it because you're letting them off the hook. You've got to ask the questions about what's going on.
Of course, we're having fans entitled to do that. It's their club at the end of the day. And listen, I'm telling you now, if that was a Mourinho team or Van Gaal team, they're not going to be 4-0 down at half time. No. The game that we always said is the most important game, and you said it last week. This is the biggest game for Ollie coming up on Sunday against Liverpool. All right, and to be 4-0 down at half time, you can't stand and say, well, next in the morning, well, we need to sort it out. Things have got to change. What's got to change? How are we going to change it? The fans can't. Some fans can't say, well, it's gone now. We'll move on to next week. We've got another game, and then we win next week, and it's all forgotten. It's not about that. It's not about this. If we're thinking about winning one game, losing two, winning one, and everything's okay, we've seen now that everything's not okay. We've seen at the start of the season, from the performances, from the players' body languages, from the demeanour of the players, that things are not okay. And it's not about, if you can't address it now, then you're never going to address it. And the only way you're going to address it is by making changes. And that's anything, whether it's the staff or whether it's anything else, you've got to make changes. And I don't see changes. I always felt that maybe Ollie was the man before the man.
Yeah, a lot of people said that, yeah.
Maybe that's, I mean, the proof's in the pudding, and you can only have opinion on what you see. Okay, and what we're seeing is not a United team. It's not a United way. There's no standards. There's no character. There's no leadership. I was people to say to me, a fish rots from the top to the bottom, from head to the tail. This is where we get that now. This is exactly where we get as a club, as an institution. This is what we're getting, and it's filtering all the way down. There's not a careability about anything. And it's okay. Let's go and spend £70 million just to try and look like we're making a challenge, look like we're trying to have a go, so the fans think, yeah, we're up there. This is our year. We've got Ronaldo, we've got Varane. Load of bollocks. Because when you've got players in Liverpool who are just running the games, you come from Sunderland, you got left back, you come from Hull. These players. You know what I mean? You think, you look at Canati, for example. Why are United not getting someone like him? Who are they looking at? Look at Matic. These are players that have been there for 2-3 years, but we've got Maguire and Lindelof. I know Varane's just come back and he's injured, but he's going to be injured because he's at that age where he's going to be injured. We look all over the place defensively. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, we've always said, he's a defender. He's not an attacking forward. He's not attacking fullback. He doesn't put balls into the box. He makes tackles. He makes sliding tackles. That's not United way. Even Gary Neville used to be flying up and down the right-hand side, putting balls into the box. Look at the balls that Arnold and Robertson were doing yesterday. Why are our fullbacks not doing that? What's the difference between United and Liverpool? And it's got to be the manager and the way the tactics are set out and the demands and standards that he puts on his bloody players. And we're happy to sit here and go, oh, it's been a bad day yesterday, but hopefully we can get a result. Oh, hopefully something's got to change. Oh, someone said we've got to look in the mirror, we've got to look at ourselves. It's fucking bollocks. Just come out and tell her how it is. Because I think they're hoodwinking everyone. I think they're putting the wool over our eyes for us to think, oh, everything's okay. It's not okay. You can tell that. Harry Maguire's interview, it wasn't okay. I need to look at myself in the mirror and just say how it is, because that's what the fans want to know. But they're not. They're all hiding behind it because they're hoping that you know, they can win the next 2 or 3 games. We're going to be in the same situation in 3-4 weeks' time here, Mark. Things ain't.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Man City, that's give them the 3 points now. And just if we can ring Pep up and say we could take a 2-0 win, I'll take it, because it could be 6. There's just there's no way Ollie can turn that around in 2 weeks, because, I mean, I want to talk about the players for a moment, but ultimately, last week he played Harry Maguire. He wasn't fit. We lost 4-2. I still don't think he's fit. No. We heard that Fred, Bruno and Rashford had knocks, so they might not have been fit yesterday. He's still picking them. You look at his bench, Eric Bailly's fully fit, Sancho's fully fit, Van der Beek's fully fit, Paul Pogba's fully fit, Cavani's fully fit. 5 players that probably walk into most decent Premier League sides to start. Maybe not Eric Bailly. And he's picking Fred and McTominay and Rashford and Bruno and Maguire, who aren't fully fit. It's, as a player, what are you thinking? You've been in these situations. As a player, if you're Paul Pogba, you know, if you're Cristiano Ronaldo, you're Bruno Fernandes. I mean, you said it yourself. No team should be 4-0 down at Old Trafford. There's got to be. I quite enjoy that the players aren't getting that much blame, because it's so obviously tactics. But the players probably deserve a little bit of blame, quite a lot of blame, really, because you're still putting a United shirt on. And you say you think they've checked out. Obviously, we constantly hear that they haven't. But what player ever comes out when a manager's still there and says, yeah, we're against the manager? They're always going to say they're with the manager. But actions speak louder than words.
Listen, at the end of the day, you know, once you cross that white line, yeah, listen, you're given a set of tactics, okay? From the manager, from his staff. This is how we're going to go about. I presume you're working it on the Thursday, Friday before the game on the Sunday. Okay, when you're on that pitch, the only people that matter are the 11 people on that pitch, are the players on that pitch. So there were times when we would play under Sir Alex, and he'd say, right, we're going to play this way, and we get on the pitch. And we think this ain't working. And so Alex used to say to us, listen, if you want to change it, but you take responsibility. So that's what we do. Sometimes we change it. We go, no, we're not going to do this. Let's do this. Let's kind of do this. Let's do that. Okay, that's what you do. You change it on the pitch yourself, because once you cross that white line, the only people can help you are your teammates on that pitch. You know, don't just think, oh, well, if you know, and we know because we've seen it time and time again, that we are getting absolutely murdered down the sides. All right, and the staff haven't got the nous to say we need to change it. Surely, Maguire, the experienced one, got to hang about. Listen, Rashford, sod this 4-2-4 bollocks. You just come back and sit, because once the first goal went in, I just sense danger. We're getting murdered down the flanks. Just come back and sit. Just come back and sit and make sure we're not hard to beat. We're nice shape. Not no one do anything about it. Not no one say anything to anybody. Not just prepared to let it keep happening, and before you know it, you're 4-0 down. That's not leadership. You know what I mean? That's just thinking, oh well, listen, this is what we're meant to do. We're just going to go out and try and implement it. If you can't, it's not down to us. Players always blame the managers. They'll always blame the manager. Always. It wasn't our fault. This is the manager tactics. You have to when you're on that pitch, you decide how the game goes, not the manager. And that's what I saw yesterday. No one sensed the danger. No one said bang. Rashford, get back in there. Right, let's go 4-5-1. Let's keep it tight, because we're 1-0 down. We can't afford to concede another goal. This is not Atalanta. This is Liverpool, one of the best teams in the world. But they didn't. They just let it happen. And I thought, what do we do? I look like looking to the sky. What do we do? This is fucking Man United. You should know what to do. That's why you cost £89 million and £70 million. And you know, and you're always kind of led by the man who leads you. And unfortunately, that is Ollie. And if that's how he leads these players and how his team, then people are going to keep asking the same question. Why is he still in the job? And that's the bottom line. That's it in a nutshell. You know, and you feel sorry for those fans. The fans are even singing at the end of the game. That's how great United fans. They're still singing at the end of the game. But don't start clapping the manager off when you just got beat 5-0 at home. Sing, yeah, because that's what United fans do, because you're great fans. But when Ollie's walking down the tunnel, I'm people clapping him. What the fuck are you clapping him for? You just got beat. This is
it's emotional blackmail. That is, Paul. You know, that's just like, oh, we like Ollie, so let's clap him. You're clapping off a biggest shower of shit performance we've probably ever seen in the Premier League era at Old Trafford. I don't remember being battered by Old Trafford like that ever.
Yeah. And this will be something that you'll be sitting in 20 years' time and people say, oh, do you remember when we beat you at Old Trafford 5-0? This is something that ain't going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, Man City did as late, but that was late on, and that was Sir Alex trying to win it in the last few minutes. And this was over 4-0 at half time. This was an embarrassment.
The rivalry between Liverpool, Manchester United, and Manchester City is not as big as Manchester United and Liverpool. We know that. We go back from the 80s when Liverpool were dominating, and United in the 90s when Manchester United were dominating. And it goes back a long, long, long way. So as a player, when you look at a fixture list, the first thing I look for is when we play in Liverpool. Because that's the game that matters to everyone. Yeah. Okay, so I remember going to Main Road in my second game at Old Trafford. My debut was at home against Millwall. We won 5-0. And I thought, this is fucking easy. I love it here. And we went to Main Road and we got beat 5-1.
I remember that, yeah.
I couldn't get out of my hotel. I couldn't get out of the hotel room, all right, because the fans were fuming in X, Y, and Z. All right, I get that. We managed to turn it around. We beat City at Old Trafford 5-0. And Chelsea got a hat-trick. So, but the rival is Liverpool, Man United. That is the big, big one. You know, so forget about Manchester City and Man United. It's Liverpool. And people will be throwing this in United fans' faces for years to come. 4-0 down at half-time. And you're like, it could have been 6 or 7. We got away lightly. Well,
I don't think we'll ever go to Anfield and be 4-0 up at half-time and singing at their fans. It shouldn't. This is it. It shouldn't happen. And somebody just said he should have 2 more games and see where. What? Why give him 2 more games? We've been beat by Leicester 4-2. And look, I'm telling you, it's like that song from Manic Street Preachers. If you tolerate this, then your children will be next. You can't. You've got to have standards as a football club. You might not like it, but when you get hammered by Liverpool off the back of the shit start to a season, he should be sacked now. I don't even know why I don't even know if they're having a meeting, but if they're out, what are you having a meeting for? Like, somebody in that football club should own it and go, we're not having a meeting. Get him out. Get Carrick and McKenna, say thank you very much, get him out and get me some options. And I know Manchester Evening News have tweeted about Conte saying that he would like the job. That's not news. That's not news, because Zidane would like the job. Conte would like the job. Any decent manager will want that job. It's just whether they'll be allowed to do the job, and the board probably won't let them do the job, so they won't take it. He didn't take the Spurs job for the same reason.
And this is what I'm saying. This is after this result, I think we just need to know where they are, the owners. What are they thinking? Yes, I said to that dreaded vote of confidence they gave last week. I hate when managers get this dreaded vote of confidence because in 2 weeks they lost their job. But I think this is the time now, after that performance, after that result, after the way United fans feel. You know, I can hear how you feel. You know, there must be millions like feel like you do this morning. You know, what is the situation? If you're going to turn around and say, right, bang, Ollie's here to the end of the season, that's it. There's not much we can do about it. Okay? And then we can stop shouting for Ollie to lose his job, because he ain't going to lose his job. But then we can focus on something else. And now's the time for them to come out this morning, tomorrow, to let us know. Yeah, we know we got the vote of confidence last week, but that's before they got smashed by Liverpool 5-0. Because now the fans want to know, where are we going with this? What direction we're going? Is he going to stay? As you say, they're talking about Conte, Zidane. What is the situation? If you're going to stay, then he stays, and there's not fuck all we can do about it. But if he's not, then you've got to start looking to bring changes in now. And that's how it works. We just want clarity on where this club is going forward, because at the moment, the club's going back. The club is not going forward. And when I hear, oh, we can't give up now, we're too close.
Yeah.
Folks from Ollie, I think you're right. Too close to what? To get to being in a top half team? Because that's the way we're going. You know,
I don't know. I think we're 7th or 8th in the league at the moment. We've got Man City coming up, and there's so many teams. We will be mid-table by the next international break. It's like I agree with you. If the club come out and say they're backing him, for me, it's like Ollie picking McTominay and Fred. They're not good enough, but they don't pick themselves. And it's like sacking Ollie. Any decent board would sack him. If they don't sack him, it's not Ollie's fault. We're moving through. It's not McFred's fault. They're crap and they get picked over Pogba and Van der Beek. It's Ollie's fault and his coaches. And now, it's not even. I don't think it's controversial to say sack Solskjaer. I really don't. I think it's one of the most obvious things in the world. So really, for me now, you're right. It's about the board. If they don't sack him, it's on them. And I've said this a few times. In May, with the protests and everything, that was about removing the board. And I think that there was a movement there that could have made some real change at the football club. That for whatever reason it stopped. And the eyes need to be back on the board here. They're the ones who, I think if there was a poll now, should we sack Solskjaer, and you only need 60% to sack him, he's sacked. Like, there will be some who say give him time, but it'll be well over 75% who sack him.
Yeah, listen, unfortunately, as I said, managers do get sacked, and a lot of managers have been sacked for a lot less. You look at, Isco at bloody Watford, he lost his job. He wasn't even in the bottom three in the Premier League. He's, been here for 6 games. Some of these owners are ruthless. The Potsy family, they're ruthless. I'm not, as I said before, these owners just want to be comfortable, take their money out, and that's it. And say, have this ego that we own Manchester United. It's an ego thing for the Glazers. It really they can walk around saying, we own Manchester United Football Club. That's all it is. They got more money than sense at the end of the day. But if Ollie stays, then it stays. And that's it. We just want to know that. Not. We don't want to come out with like little quotes like, "Well, yeah, we're still backing Ollie. We're still backing Ollie." Well, how long are you going to back him for? We need to know. You're going to back him to the end of the season. You're going to throw more money at him in January. Because obviously they need a couple of midfield players. I'm hoping they need another centre half. They need probably centre forward. We've gone from a team where we think, oh, we're there now. We've got Varane, we've got Sancho, we've got Ronaldo. This is our team. And yet we're sitting there now saying, well, I think we need another couple of midfield players. I think we need another centre half. I think we need attacking full back. And we need a proper centre forward.
It'd be interesting to see if it happens, what a decent coach does with that team. I mean, that's a chat for another day, but you're probably not wrong. They might want a centre back. They would definitely want a midfielder. They probably want 2. They might not pick Rashford because he doesn't track back and he doesn't cross. We all got ideas about we need this, that, and the other. But until I'm not a great coach, I have ideas, but I think a really great coach would come in and open a few eyes as to what they'd do with that team.
Yeah, they probably would, and as I've said, they'll have a blueprint of how there'll be managers there. There'll be people like Conte and Zidane watching this, and they'll be looking at that side and they'll be thinking, right, what would I do? And they'll be writing it all down. They'll be saying, we need this, we need that. So if they were to go into the club, they'd go there hitting the ground running, knowing what exactly to do with precise players. I'm going to throw this out there, all right? I'm going to throw it out there. And you can tell me what you think about this. I think at this moment of time, Man United have to play a 3-5-2. That's my opinion. Because I'm thinking, go back to Villarreal. Could have been 4-5. Yeah? Atlanta could have been 4-5 at half time. 4 against Leicester. 5 against Liverpool. Defensively, we've got 2 defensive midfield players who can't do their jobs.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I watched yesterday, Fred and McTominay running back towards their goal. Running back, must have been 10, 15 times. They're running back towards their goal as Liverpool run past them. That can't be right. So defensively at this moment of time, United are absolutely diabolical. Diabolical, a shambles. So for me to just with the games coming up, it might be more solid to go with the 3 centre halves and Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw. England Southgate's done it and it's kind of gone well, Then you can have the 3 tight in midfield. And maybe you can go Ronaldo or Rashford, or you can mess about with the top 2. But at the moment, they need some kind of solidarity in that defence because they're conceding too many goals. And I think it's something that I don't know whether they even consider it, the Man United staff manager. But just from a fan's point of view, I just think it's something that maybe we need to start looking at that because we're just too open against any team. We're not talking about Liverpool. We're talking about Villa. We're talking about Everton. We're talking about Newcastle, which had chances. We're open as a football team. So that's what I'm saying. Something has to change. And it's been going on week after week after week against bang average teams. Atalanta had 6 players out the other week and still could be 4-0 up at half time.
Liverpool had 2 big players out yesterday, didn't they? West Ham didn't have Antonio. We've mentioned that. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin not there for Everton. It's been a constant all year, and unfortunately, it's been a constant all year that he picks McTominay and Fred, who I just do not believe are Manchester United players, but he's obsessed with them. But look, we could talk and talk and talk, Paul. Lots of people have tuned in, and we really appreciate that. And I'm sure the conversation is going to continue. We have got Fabrizio Romano coming on at 1:30 as well, so we'll hopefully get a bit of an update on what's going on with Ollie. At the moment, it's very, very quiet, but make sure you tune in for that. But look, Paul, thanks very much. What do you think? You think he'll still be here for the next match?
Yeah, I do. I think he'd be here. I think he'd be here. I agree with Gary Neville. I think he'd be here to the end of the season. And
we don't agree with it happening, but you think that will happen?
I think that will happen. I think it definitely happen. And, you know, they need to come out, the Glazers or Woodward, and say, listen, he's here to the end of the season, no matter what. And then we could just focus on United rather than talking about Ollie losing his job. That's the easiest way. Takes the pressure off Ollie, even though he should be under pressure because of the performances, you know. But fans need clarity. They need to know where the club's going. And if Ollie's going to be there to the end of the season, then it's down to us and the fans to get behind him no matter what. That's the end of the game for me.
For me, I'm Ollie out. I want him sacked. I don't think he's good enough. I think last night was disgraceful, and the club should be making the move that a proper football club would make. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul and Gary Neville are right that they stick by him, but I won't be changing my mind because he ain't going to take us where we need to be, and that squad is nowhere near where it needs to be. But we will see what happens. There's not any hints of anything happening today. I don't think anything will, but we have got Romano at 1:30. We've got a big show for you tonight as well. Obviously, if anything happens, we'll go live. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. And big shout out to Paul for coming on.
Cheers, guys. Great to be on. See you, Marky.
No worries. Have a good week, pal.
I'll try. It's not going to be easy, but I'll try.
All right, mate. Catch you in a bit.
Cheers, kiddo. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
Bye.
And thanks everyone else for watching as well. We will speak to you. Let me just get myself. I don't like it when it does that. Thanks everyone for watching. As I said, we've got Fabrizio Romano on at 1:30. What a show that was. What I would say is I'm at this point now where I'm very angry, and I think there needs to be change at the football club. But I don't like the abuse, and I don't like the "I told you so" scenario. The reality is, I don't think these people who've been abusive towards Ollie over the last 6 months actually understand what's going on at the club. For me, I was saying 2 weeks ago about the Glazers, and people were like, "Oh, shut up about the Glazers. It's about Ollie." Well, lo and behold, we're talking about the Glazers because they're the ones with the power to sack him. He should be sacked, and it's the Glazers who won't sack him. So I was right 2 weeks ago, but people just want to go, Ollie out, PE teacher, this, that, and the other. And they're not looking at the big picture. I think they're looking at making themselves popular. Like, oh, look at me for the views. I'm shouting, I'm screaming. I've been proved right and all this shit. And I'm like, football's not just about that. It's like McTominay and Fred are crap, but Ollie picks them. That's Ollie's fault. Ollie's crap and he should be sacked, especially after yesterday, but that's the board's fault. And the problems with United have always been the owners. It's been the owners for 16 years. Sir Alex Ferguson defied it. He was winning titles with Cleverley in the midfield, because they wouldn't buy him a midfielder. He did it despite the Glazers, not because of the Glazers. And now we're suffering because of the Glazers and Ed Woodward and people like that. They are awful. Why has Ed Woodward not been sacked? We're giving him a farewell tour. We heard he was going in the summer. He's still there. He's the worst CEO we've ever had. And he's being given a farewell tour. Just go. And if you want a legacy, sack Solskjaer and bring in Zidane. And I don't say it. I say it from a footballing point of view. I don't say it from a human being point of view because it's very sad to sack somebody, but it happens. Somebody was sacked last week. Somebody was sacked tomorrow. Solskjaer should be sacked. United should be getting the best out of this. And the players, I said last week, whether they're downing tools or not, they know what's going on in training and they know what they need to do for their career and for the benefit of Manchester United. And I think we saw that yesterday. Thanks everyone for watching. Let's see what's going to go on in the next few days and weeks. But thanks everyone for watching. And we might be back sooner than you think. I'll speak to you all in a bit.